What's going on, man? It's your boy Jay Holley, and we are back with another episode of Unfiltered with Jesse Holley. Thank you. You are far too kind. You could have been anywhere in the world, but I am so glad that you are here with me. I am Jesse Holley, the sports talk equivalent of Braille. People feel me when I speak. You guys know what you got to do. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Hit us up on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Hit us up on YouTube. Follow me at Mr. Fourth and Long. Follow Fanatics View. Follow Unfiltered with Jesse Holley on Instagram and Twitter. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And if you're in town, come and stop by Playmakers 88, where we record twice a week. The food is great here. The vibes are great here. The talent, fellas, are great here. I hear the drinks are great here. I haven't partaken in those, but I'm going to let them tell me that it's great, and I'm going to tell you that it's great. The food has been great here. I've had some meals here before. You never know. Mike might be in here. He was in here this past weekend for Super Bowl. He came through and spent some time here. I saw pictures and I saw his post about it. You just never know who you may run into. Sean Merriman was here last week. We saw Yellow Beezy was in here a week before. So you just never know who's going to be at Playmakers 88 off of Highway 121 in the Colony. All right, you guys know how I like to get down. I like to get my motivation at the beginning. This is episode 94 because let's be honest, a lot of you are not going to be here at the end. And that's okay because I'm not for everybody. But before you go, make sure it's 94 episodes out here. Make sure you give me at least 15 minutes of your time. And if you don't like that episode, pick another one and another one until you begin to love me. Love me. I'm very lovable at times. I'm really hard to love at other times, but it's worth it. I'm worth it. And you should make yourself worth it by following. All right, man, here's what I got for the word. It says, the wait between blessings is for our development. The wait between blessings is for our development. Sometimes we ask for things, we pray for things, we manifest things, and we aren't properly conditioned to handle them. It's like telling a child that they can go into a candy store and have whatever they want, no limit. They're going to eat candy till their teeth rot and their stomachs hurt. Because they're just not developed enough to know that while I can eat everything in here, I probably shouldn't eat everything in here. And so sometimes we're asking for things and we're manifesting things and we're praying for things that we kind of gotta get ourselves developed for. Because the worst thing that you can do, the absolute worst thing that you can do is to pray, to manifest, to ask for something, and you get it and you fumble the bag because you just weren't developed enough to handle it. And whether that mean a relationship, more money, just because you get more money, if you bad with money, if you haven't developed the processes of how to financially do things, if you get more money, you're just going to be done with money. If you're bad with money broke, you're going to be bad with money rich. Okay. If you're begging for a relationship, for a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a husband or a wife, and you're bad at relationships, it doesn't matter if you're going to get a new partner or a new whatever. If you're bad at relationships, if you're bad at those things that make relationships go well, it doesn't matter who you go get. You're going to be bad at them. So sometimes the wait in between is for when God, whatever God that you serve, I serve the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It's sometimes God is saying, let me finish developing you. Before I give you this kingdom, before I give you this blessing, before I give you this financials, before I give you this job, let me develop you. Let me make sure that I don't fumble my bag, because you are his bag. So just know that wait is not a denial. Sometimes that wait is a development, and we have to develop ourselves to be actually able to handle the things that we're asking for. All right, man, let's get into this thing and let me tell you who needed some more development. and who could not handle the things that they were asking for. The Kansas City Chiefs, we've been away at Super Bowl and doing different things, and I haven't had a chance to speak on this platform about the Super Bowl. And the Kansas City Chiefs were asking for a three-peat, manifesting a three-peat, praying for a three-peat. They had to wait. They weren't developed enough. They weren't ready. And the Philadelphia Eagles, with that vaunted defensive line and that defense as a whole, came in and stomped a mud hole in the Kansas City Chiefs. Tay reminded me when we came in that my Super Bowl picks with the Chiefs, I'm bad. I bet against the Chiefs, and I lost. I bet with the Chiefs, and I lost. I can't judge the Chiefs anymore. But if I got to go back to the table again to judge on the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, I'm probably going to bet on the Chiefs again. But it was definitely a Super Bowl that not many of us expected. If you're not a Philadelphia Eagles fan, most of the money in Vegas was going towards the Chiefs, outside of the people who are actually Philadelphia Eagles fans. But Philly had another thing in mind. And let me just say this, because sometimes we ask ourselves, where did the credit go? And do you give credit to Sirianni? Do you give credit to Vic Fangio? Do you give credit to Kellen Moore, who's now the new head coach of the New Orleans Saints? Do you give credit to Jalen Hurts, or is it Saquon, or whoever? And the answer is yes. I mean, if all of them had a major part to play in it, Saquon, Carter, Jalen, I mean, you name them, Mitchell and Deshaun and AJ and Devontae, Sirianni. Who I give a lot of credit to, who I probably will give the most credit to, and I don't ever want to take away from the men that are actually in the arena. And that's big for me. The guys who are actually on the field. But I got to give a ton of credit to Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie, in the last couple years, let's say the last 8 to 10 years, he's been putting on a masterclass. Philadelphia has been putting on a masterclass on how to build a team, how to reset, how to build it back up, how to work their way through the cap and say, F the money. We'll pay it later on. And also some credit has to go to Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, because in order for Howie to do it, Jeffrey has to okay it, especially when it comes to the financials. When you got to start pushing this money down the road. And now, right now, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles are building a dynasty because they're not supposed to really meet their cap Grim Reaper until like 2029. And what Howie's doing is showing you how to build a really good team and have really good players and pay them up front and push the money to the back end and have players that are worth this on paper but not worth it on cap right now. Like Jalen Hurts. It's a $50 million player. It's only against $21 million against the cap. A.J. Brown. It's a $30 million player. $17 million against the cap. This team has 7, 8, 9, 10 guys probably making, over $15 million probably. It's a stacked team. And they've shown you, the two teams who have really shown you, like San Fran has, but the Rams showed you in the way of F these picks with Les Snead and just said, we don't care about these picks. We don't care about rookies and all that kind of nonsense. We're going to trade these picks away. Go get me veteran guys. Go get me veteran guys that can play right now. I know what their caliber is. I know what they can do and what they can't do. And they won. And then they had to come and face the Reaper, and they sucked. And then now they built back up, and they were in the playoffs last year. Same thing for the Niners. Like, say what you want about the Niners, but they had a damn good run the last 5 or 6 years. Damn good run. And this is just the way to go. Like, this is the way that the league is going. And you saw Philadelphia take that. I mean, Philadelphia, you can argue with your mother, but they had the best, or if they weren't two. If they didn't have the best offensive line, they were 1B. Detroit, Philly, Detroit, potato, right? They had hands down the best defensive line. They had the best running back in the league. They had the best duo of wide receivers in the league with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They had a decent secondary. Pretty good secondary. Cooper DeJean played well. Quinyon Mitchell played well. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Those guys played well. I mean, their defensive line was so good in Philadelphia. They took Zach Bond, who was primarily just a special teams guy in New Orleans. All pro. All pro. So, yes, I give credit to Nick Sirianni. Like, this team imploded last year because there was a lot of disdain for Nick Sirianni last year. He somehow, some way fixed it. He somehow, some way got whoever those leaders or those people he had pissed off, he got them in a room and they sat and talked, I'm assuming like men, and they got it figured out. Jalen Hurts, is he a top 10 quarterback? No. He did what he had to do. Jalen Hurts didn't have a 300-yard game this season. He passed for 2,900 yards. I think Cooper Rush might have passed for more yards than him. But look it up. I think Cooper Rush might have passed more yards than him. Taylor, look that up. But he did what he needed to do when he needed to do it. And Jalen totals, yeah, it's 2,903 yards. Cooper Rush threw for 3,400. Oh, that's career? What did he do this year? 1,800. All right. So. But the Eagles right now, they're head of the class. And they're probably going to draft well. And they're going to bring that squad back next year. And the Cowboys will have hell to pay. They will have hell to pay. Which leads me into, and let me put a bow on the Super Bowl thing. I've never seen Patrick Mahomes look so bewildered. Like, remember the time it was? I think it was who was it? Was it Mark Sanchez or was it the Wilson kid? Who was that said, "I see ghosts"? I'm seeing ghosts. Sam Darnold. Patrick Mahomes looked like he was seeing ghosts. He looked like, I've never seen him come to the sideline and look so confused. He looked mortal. He looked mortal. He didn't look like a Super Saiyan. He didn't look like, and I don't know if he was like for me, I kept waiting. I'm like, okay, this drive he's gonna turn into that Super Saiyan. Like this drive, he's gonna turn into Goku and he's gonna like, and he's gonna like turn into that guy. Like I thought, like I kept feeling, I was like, 17-0, 24. Oh, this ain't happening. And over and over and over, you just watched him have to peel himself off the ground. Milton Williams, Sweat, Carter, I mean, like, he was peeling himself off the ground. I mean, he get the snap, and before he can even get a chance to try to look down the field, he was trying to avoid one of those defenders from Philadelphia. Never seen him look like he looked out of sorts. They didn't have an answer. And for Philadelphia to not send one single blitz, and maybe the Chiefs were on borrowed time. Because all year long, they had these issues. They had the offensive line issues. They had to win 2 games by blocking punts. And they had a doink that went in for a game. I mean, they had a lot of things that had happened to them all year long. And maybe they were on borrowed time. I don't know. But when you have the best quarterback in the world, that borrowed time looks a little different than most others. Because in the minutes that it mattered the most, he would come through. And if borrowed time means you go out and you win 15 games, 15-2, it's not a bad time to borrow. And if borrowed time means getting to the Super Bowl again, it's not bad. It's not a bad time to borrow. But I never seen in his 6-7 year career, I never seen a time where Patrick Mahomes looked that just deer in the headlights. Travis Kelce looked old. The offensive line was always kind of shaky. They never had a running game. They were moving pieces around. Sidebar. And this is why I don't give Cowboys a lot of kind of grace and mercy, because that offensive line was kind of bad all year. They were just moving pieces around. They got to the Super Bowl. Like, everything's not going to be perfect all the time. Sometimes you got to make do what you got to make do. We're not going to be able to always get Tyron Smith and Zach Martins and Travis Fredericks in the offensive line and have 4 or 5 Pro Bowlers. Sometimes you got to just go with what you know. But the Chiefs, and they'll regroup. They'll sign some offensive linemen. They'll draft some offensive linemen. They'll find a way. They'll find a way. Andy Reid, you don't do what they've done. I mean, you don't not go to the AFC Championship 6-7 years in a row without knowing what the hell you're doing. You don't fluke your way into that. So they'll be back. But right now, the Eagles are head of the class. They are the one, which leads me to my next conversation. Dak Prescott was doing his charity event, he and Troy Aikman. And of course, everyone comes out and they come to support the charity event for these kids who are battling cancer. And it's a great, great charity event that they do. But the reporters are kind of there because you don't get many moments where you get a chance to talk to Dak Prescott. During the season, you get that one scheduled time during the week. But once the season is over, he ain't doing podcasts. He ain't doing none of that. So it's in these moments they get a chance to talk to Dak Prescott. And in the comments, it was said by Dak Prescott that, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was along the lines of, if you look at the record, because they were asking about Philadelphia and now that they won the Super Bowl, they said, well, if you look at the record when we played those guys, we beat them. And if we're being honest, he's right. He's right. The numbers are here. Dak record against the NFC East as a whole, the division, he's 33-8 since he came into the league. Dak record against the Philadelphia Eagles, 9-4 since he's coming to the league. The issue is not the regular season for me. It's not the regular season for me. Because, yes, if you look at it during the regular season, he's basically owned the NFC East. If you look at it during the regular season, he has a winning record well above 500 against the Eagles. He's 2-5 in the playoffs. With zero NFC championship appearances, 0 playoff appearances. Philadelphia, since 2015, they're 10-5 in the playoffs. With 1, 2, 3 Super Bowl appearances. That means 3 NFC championships. They lost to the Chiefs. They've beaten the Chiefs, and they beat the Pats. So they've beat some heavy hitters. They've beat Tom Brady. They've beat and they beat the Chiefs. And those came 18 in the last 6 years. So 2 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl appearances since 2015. That's the part that matters to me the most. I don't care about regular season. And I get what Dak is saying. Like, yeah, we can compete with those guys in the regular season. And then he says the line that kind of takes me over is, it's our turn, it's on us. And I get what Dak is saying. When you're a player, whatever it is, like, there is a level of delusion. Maybe delusion is the harsh word. But when you're in the building, when you're in the fight, you do have to have a level of delusion. You do have to have a level of belief that goes far beyond sometimes rational thinking. If I was in the Cowboys locker room today, as rational as I like to believe that I am, as honest and truthful as I like to believe that I am, when you put in the work every single day, at least individually, you believe a little bit different. I don't have to have the unrealistic rationalization of what they actually are, because I don't play for them anymore. I don't put the work in anymore. I don't eat for the game. I don't work out for the game. I don't do any of that for the game anymore. I don't spend more time with my teammates than I do my family. I don't study the playbook anymore. I don't do any of that. I'm not in the training room. So I don't have to have the level of belief that he has to have, especially being the quarterback. I also don't have to agree with it. But he has to have that level of, we can. Even though we haven't got to the big game, even though we haven't been able to get ourselves to a place of true playoff success, he has to believe it. And when he says it, we, I, us, you, me, we turn up our lips. We frown our face. Because unless you're hoisting the Lombardi, or at least dancing in those waters, we don't believe you. And this year marked, now that Washington ended up going to the NFC Championship game, you now have the longest drought. 30 years. 2 times longer than any other team in the league. That's tough. That's tough. And to say that we're close to doing that because of what you were able to do against them in the regular season, I think to me is apples and oranges. Yes, regular season is important, but playoffs is more important. What you do in the playoffs, what you do against those playoff level opponents, and let's be honest, it ain't even about what you do just against Philadelphia, because you still have to get through a bunch of other teams that you may not be better than. Let me take the may not out. That you are not better than. Detroit's still there. Minnesota's gotten better. Can't beat Green Bay. You know what San Fran does to you. I think if you have to go up against the Rams, that'll be a headache. Washington's on the way. I mean, it's looking crazy. And, of course, Philadelphia. So you don't have to be better than just Philadelphia. You got to get better than the rest of the dogs that you have not been able to hurdle yet either. And your real prayer is that you hope that your owner, president, and general manager gets up to speed on how things are being done in the 21st century. Because old keys don't open new locks. Old ways of how you build a team don't win games in 2025 and beyond. You have to be able to come to a place where you're competing at a level roster-wise with the others. Not because you had a quarterback or you had a receiver. Kind of everybody has that now. Everybody, like the good teams, they got that. But you got to be willing to pay the other guys that make your roster legit. And not worry about, in essence, the cost of doing business. A part of it, when it comes to will Jerry Jones be willing to do the things that guys like Jeffrey Lurie does? Because what Jeffrey Lurie does kind of initially on the front end takes a little bit of money out of his pocket that they'll have to pay for later on, but you pay a larger price up front. And you do that and you say, okay, I'll pay the down payment up front. I'll deal with the consequences later. But the business side of things, it says, now that I win a Super Bowl, I'll charge more for my tickets next year. I'll make more money. I'll sell out tickets faster next year. I'll make more money. Parking will go up. I'll make more money. I'll sell more merch. I'll sell more jerseys. All that stuff from the business wise, Jeffrey Lurie will be fine. He'll turn a profit even though he has to pay some of that other money up front. That's the name of the game. And part of the reason why I think that the Joneses won't do that is because they're already first. They're not first on the field. They sell the most merch. They by far have the most attendance every single year. Jerry's making hand over fist at that concession stand. Shout out to Legends Concessions. Jersey sales are always in the top 10. I mean, so for him, and of course, you see it every single year. They come out and they go, hey, we have the Forbes list. And this tells you who is the most profitable and richest franchise in all of sports in the world. And up at the top, where it says number one, numero uno, Dallas Cowboys. So in the business side of things, Jerry's saying, I don't have to do what they do because I already win. So I'm not going to extend my cap or extend my pockets or stretch my pockets out and worry about having to make the money up later because I'm already winning in those areas. So until I figure out a way to win in my terms, on my terms, in the way that I want to do it, and not do a smart thing and just copycat how other folks around the league are doing it, he'll stay pat. And Jerry and Dak and Micah and CD and all those other guys will have to answer the question about how come you can't compete like the Eagles? How come you can't compete like the Niners? How come you can't compete like Detroit and or Washington? It ain't because the blueprint is not there. Also, what Jerry can do is learn how to stack contracts. Learn how to come to players. If you have a player and you're saying, you know what, this is a good player, and this guy has a contract coming up in 2 years, and instead of me waiting for him in 2 years and he's healthy and we have plans for him to be here in the future, let me go ahead and extend him now. Let me extend him now. But the Cowboys keep waiting until the contracts are officially over, and now those players that you actually need, they take you out back, as they should, and they spank you in the contract. And now you end up having to pay that money right then and there. Instead of stacking contracts, and what ends up happening is these players take you out back, and now when you say, I don't want to set the market, and I don't want to, you end up doing it anyway. Nobody was giving running backs $12, $13 million a year. You gave it to Zeke. And he had 2 years left on his deal. You gave it to him. When you shouldn't have done that. That should have been one contract you didn't do. CeeDee Lamb. You waited till he got to the end of his deal, and then now what? At the time, Tyreek Hill had the biggest number, right? So don't wait till he gets to the number now when Tyreek Hill is there. Extend him 2 years before that. So you're not recreating the market. Same thing with Micah. Same thing with Dak. But you wait until you get to the very end of the deal, and now you have no choice because you don't have the answer. You got to give Dak $60 million. But if you did it 2 years before, you could have saved yourself $10 million. That money could have gone to another player or two players. But if you stack it properly and push some things down the road, that's how you're able to build a good team. That's how you become the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, there's risk in that for sure, 100%. You can stack, you can do that and end up like Cleveland. They took a bad bet on a bad contract on a bad quarterback. Stung them. Same thing with Denver. They had to eat $80 million for Russell Wilson, not Westbrook. The Saints, they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and never quite curled all the way over. But the blueprints are out there. You have to be willing and wanting to take them. If not, you'll be talking about the yesteryears and about how in the 1990s, how you won those championships. It's 30 years. There are a large contingent of people. My audience is like male 25 to 45 is always the target audience for sports talk radio or podcast or what have you. A lot of these kids never saw a Super Bowl. A lot of these young men have never saw it. So what you're talking about, you're starting to talk to a breed of people who aren't even in that realm of age. You got to get something for these new fans before it gets too late. All right, man. But right now, Philly's ahead of the class. They are head and shoulders above the Cowboys. And in some places, right now, in Vegas, the Dallas Cowboys are with the odds of winning a Super Bowl in 2025, 2026, they're fourth least in the NFL. I think the only team that are worse than them are the Giants, the Saints, the Panthers, than the Cowboys. It's good value. If you want to waste money, Holley's Helping Hands are always taking donations. We give back to the community. Don't waste your money on some of those Vegas good value picks. That ain't going to be good value later on. If it's $50, donate to Holley's Helping Hands. $100, $1,000, whatever it is, donate to Holley's Helping Hands. I go from one bad GM and one bad team to another. And I don't even know if it's arguably anymore. I think it's solidified. I think it's stamped, certified, the worst trade in NFL history. I'm sorry, NBA history. Luka Doncic was traded from the Dallas Mavericks for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. Yes, that Luka Doncic. Not some other doppelganger or whatever. That guy, the 25-year-old. And Nico Harris, the GM, has been paying hell ever since. It happened. Here's what's funny. So the conversation between Nico and Rob Pelinka, the GM for the Lakers. Now, Rob Pelinka and Nico Harris go way back. Remember, before Rob Pelinka became the general manager of the LA Lakers, he was Kobe Bryant's agent. And who was the guy that he worked with closely at Nike for Kobe Bryant? You guessed it, Nico Harris. Anthony Davis, who was his Nike rep? You guessed it, Nico Harris. So they have a long relationship that goes back many years. Nico Harrison. Let's say Nico Harris. Nico Harrison, excuse me. So the conversation between Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison happened in a coffee shop here in DFW. It's funny because there are coffee shops that go around here now in DFW that says they have stickers and they go, not the coffee shop that the conversation with Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka happened at. They're like identifying themselves like, it wasn't our coffee shop. We were the coffee shop that they sat at and traded away Luka Doncic. I can tell you that Mavs fans are a different breed of fans. And if I'm comparing fandom, Cowboy fans, you're like the dog behind the fence. You just bark a lot. You behind that fence, you're snarling and you're barking and your fangs are showing and you, like you, Cowboy fans are killers behind the gate. But when that gate comes open, y'all all bark. Mavs fans is the pit bull roaming the neighborhood that's chasing and biting on folks. They are nasty. They are filled with vitriol. They want blood. They want blood and they want a lot of it. And they don't want everybody's blood. They want Nico's blood. And they have been rabid the last week. They have been on Nico's. They had a protest. They brought the caskets out. They got the signs and the shirts. I mean, they're in the chats. I worked Mav coverage all last week. Shout out to my peoples at DLLS, Kevin Gray, Tim Cato, Bobby Corella, Mark Stein. Mavs fan, different breed. They different breed. They even talk more crazy too. They talk crazy. Cowboy fans, you need to go to the fandom, the angry fandom approach schooling the Dallas Mavericks. While Luka hasn't been playing the best in LA right now, it's still one of the worst trades that we've ever seen. And people are still, all of the big dogs, all of the Shams, all of the Tim McMahons, all of the Brian Windhorses of the world, all of the top dog reporters, they're still trying to unearth and dig up all what happened. Of course, there were it's Nico and it's the Dumont family saying, oh, well, Luka was out of shape and was a little bit of a tyrant and, the work ethic wasn't there and we want to build this culture around defense and Luka just doesn't fit that part. And who am I to tell who how to build what team and do what they own it? I do think this was, and I don't know if it was a bad trade because you got rid of Luka. Because Anthony Davis, when healthy, I know that's a big if. Street clothes is his nickname for a reason. But he shows you in 3.5 quarters, I can be really, really, really good. And so that part you understand. Like you didn't get a peanut player back, maybe a lemon, but not a peanut player back, maybe a lemon player back. Anthony Davis can be good, and he does shore up your defense. The anger and the vitriol about it all is you didn't get the proper haul. You didn't get the Herschel Walker level haul. When you hear about other teams getting, Rudy Gobert got 5 first-round picks. 4 or 5 first-round picks. One of the two. There's other players in this league who are lesser of talent than Luka, who brought in 3 first-round picks, 4 first-round picks. And for Luka to just bring in 1 first-round pick, I think that's where a lot of the anger was at. Because how could you give away the beloved pick of Dallas for 1 first-round pick and a future Hall of Fame player? Because even the trade, like Anthony and Luka aren't 1 for 1. Good player, but older, injury prone. Luka's 25 and has a much higher ceiling right now. So to not get proper compensation has people up in arms. And I'm a little wore out from it. I am. I do. Because sometimes I feel like Udonis Haslem, he said, I know, don't stone me. But eventually you got to move on. You got to move on. I'm not telling you how to fandom. I'm going to tell you how to mourn. And there's 5 stages of grief. I don't know what stage that you're in. There's an anger stage in there. There's a denial stage in there. There's a bargaining stage that's in there. There's an acceptance stage that is in there. So I don't know which one that you're working through. Yes, do I think it was a bad trade? Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And I ask you, put it in the comments. Is there anything that Anthony Davis, Nico Harrison, Max Christie, and the Mavs can do to ever fully get forgiveness? Is this trade an unforgivable trade? If they go and win 2 Super Bowls, if they go and win 2 NBA championships in the next 4 years, would you say, okay, Nico, didn't like it, but you're forgiven? Okay, Nico, a little scumbaggy-ish, but we understand. We didn't see it the way you saw it, Nico, but we got 2 chips in the last 4 years. We'll take it. Is that possible? Do you need more chips? Would 1 chip do it? You need 3 chips? Or is there some of you that say, it doesn't matter if they win 10 chips? Never forgiving him. Never getting over it. And I get the lineage. I get the fact that you had Dirk for 20 years. And there's this level of loyalty. Let me tell y'all, rule number 1. In sports business, there is no loyalty. There is no loyalty. Because for every Kobe, because Kobe was out of LA twice. He was ready to go twice. For every Dirk, there's 100 other players that never see the light of day of that level of longevity. So just in the future, program yourself to know that in sports, there is no loyalty from the business side of things. And maybe the people who have come in at the Dumont people who aren't basketball people, they're business people, they're casino people. Maybe they came and they looked up and they said, we got to pay him what this summer? The Supermax. What's the number again? 345 million American dollars? Don't know if I want to pay that. Don't know if I want to give this guy 345 million American currency. It's a lot of money. I don't know. I sometimes try to get in the minds of if I ran a business, what would that look like? I mean, they're not hurting for dough. Casinos and gambling is at an all-time high. Folks is giving them parlays is putting people in debt. Those tickets, all of the let me not get a future sponsor mad, but those sleepers and FanDuels and all that other kind of, man, folks are missing rent, mortgages. So gambling's in a good place. But yeah, arguably one of the worst trades ever. And I don't know if there's forgiveness. Winning does help. I do think winning can cure everything. I think winning can cure everything. I think championships can cure a broken heart. I do think championships can mend the relationship. And maybe you don't fully 100% trust Nico in the future. They go and win a championship or two. You might look at him sideways, might be like, And you might go to give him a finger and then go, thank you. I don't know. Time will tell. Time will tell, and time will heal all wounds. And so will championships. All right, man, before I go, got to give my boy, my brother, one of my good, dear friends, a shout out and a congratulations. Tashard Choice, who was a Cowboys running back, was drafted by the Cowboys. Played 6-7 years in the league. Worked his way up through the ranks. Started out at Waxahachie High School as a volunteer assistant under John Kitna. Then followed John Kitna over to Burleson High School. And then went up to UNT, the Fighting Eagles, the Mean Green. And was volunteering there before he became a paid running back coach. Then went to Georgia Tech. He went home. He's from Atlanta, coached at Georgia Tech where he went to school at after he transferred from Oklahoma. From there, he did some work with the Cowboys as an intern. And then ended up at Texas, where he was the running back coach for names like Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs was at Texas. At Tech. Who was the running back out of Texas? Jonathan Brooks. Got a raise and got a new job. He was in the runnings for jobs with the New Orleans Saints. He was in running for jobs with the Oakland Raiders. The Dallas Cowboys really wanted to bring him back. Bread wasn't right. Stop being cheap. You can't, Cowboys, you can't win being cheap. When you were winning, this is a sidebar rant. When you were winning championships, you were paying jokers. You implemented the salary cap. When you were at your peak, there was no salary cap. When you were doing things at your height, you were paying the piper. You were paying the money. When my boy's got a new job, a raise, he is going to, in my opinion, the new America's team. The current America's team. The MCDCs, the Motor City Dan Campbells. He will be the running back coach and either the associate or assistant head coach. From what I'm hearing, he will also be the highest paid running back coach in the National Football League. So to my brother Tashard, job well done. As the young kids say, you truly got it out the mud. There was no nepotism. There was no skipping steps. And sky is truly the limit. This will be my last show because I'm playing. I'm not going to Detroit. I'm not going to Detroit. But man, Tashard Choice, the new running backs coach at the Detroit Lions. Not a bad place. You have arguably the best offensive line, and you have the best running back duo in the league. Sonic and Knuckles. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, who you coached and recruited at Georgia Tech, and you got David Montgomery. Should be special. Should be very special. And don't be surprised in a couple years when you see Tashard Choice being someone's offensive coordinator and then soon somebody's head coach somewhere. All right, man, that'll do it for me. Remember, hit the like, subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, put us in the group chat, follow us, Fanatics Views, follow us at Mr. Fourth and Long, follow us Unfiltered with Jesse Holley on Instagram and Facebook. Like all the episodes, Spotify, Apple. And remember, the wait between your blessing is for your development. Don't be a dummy. Allow the development to happen. All right, that's it for your boy, Jay Holley. And remember, eliminate the contingencies. I'm out.